Hello, class. This video is for Dr. Satta's American Christian Heritage class, Module 7 discussion board. My research paper is titled Thomas Jefferson's Religious Contributions to America. I've always been a huge fan of Jefferson, and this was a fun and interesting avenue of study that I hadn't yet explored. So, Jefferson once said, "Had the doctrines of Jesus been preached always as pure as they came from his lips, the whole civilized world would now have been Christian." With that in mind, Jefferson often has been portrayed by modern scholars as a secular man, one who wanted a secular society free of religion, but that's not the case. In his own words, in his own actions, his legacy is one of religious liberty. So what were those religious contributions of Jefferson? First, it's important that we talk about his upbringing, his schooling, and his faith as a young man. So it was most likely that he is baptized as a member of the Church of England. His father was a vestryman at the local Anglican parish, and he can remember specifically his mother teaching him prayers as a youth. So at about age 5 and then on, he studied under several different local reverends in different schools there in Virginia. Then at age 17, he went on to attend the College of William and Mary. His first 2 years there were under Dr. William Small. And he was very fond of William Small and said this about his tutelage under him: "It was my great good fortune and what probably fixed the destinies of my life," which is huge praise from Jefferson. But Small had to move on back to Europe, so he set up Jefferson to study under George Wythe. And Wythe and Jefferson developed a very strong friendship. He was studying law under Wythe, and he went on to become a member of the bar there in Virginia. So, as most people, Jefferson's faith was shaped by his upbringing. But like most, again, his faith changed, shifted, and continued to be different throughout his life. So to better understand that, we just need to look at a few sightings or works of his later in his life. So he's been claimed to be an atheist. Oh, he said that already, but David Hume was a philosopher, and his works were consumed by Jefferson early in his life, and his enjoyment of Hume in his early life is often cited as proof that he's an atheist. But Jefferson wrote later in his life about Hume's work, and he says that "I remember well the enthusiasm with which I devoured it when young, and the length of time, the research and reflection with which it was necessary to eradicate the poison it had instilled into my mind." Words like that, strong words like that, don't make you think that he was an atheist. That makes you think that he did not agree eventually with Hume's philosophies. Further proof of Jefferson's Christianity and faith, he married Martha, and Martha was often considered a saint. And their courtship and marriage was during the time of the First Great Awakening, which had a profound effect on both the Jeffersons. Jefferson also was, like his father, a vestryman at the local Anglican parish there, and even swore to uphold the strict Anglican doctrine of the time. But again, Jefferson's views on doctrine in the church shifted. He wasn't a huge fan of the clergy later in his life, but that doesn't change the fact that he was a very religious believer in Jesus and Christianity. So he told Benjamin Rush on his faith that, "To the corruptions of Christianity I am indeed opposed, but not to the genuine precepts of Jesus himself. I am a Christian in the only sense he wished anyone to be, sincerely attached to his doctrine, in preference to all others, ascribing to him every human excellence, and believing he never claimed any other. Powerful. But moving from Jefferson's youth, we can properly now evaluate his contributions to religious liberty. At Monticello is a small memorial to Jefferson. Jefferson had wrote on that memorial, Thomas Jefferson, author of the Declaration of Independence and of the Virginia Statutes for Religious Freedom, and father of the University of Virginia. The first item on his list is the Declaration of Independence, a document that Abraham Lincoln said would protect us against tyranny and oppression. But what did it mean to Jefferson, and what did it mean to America? In Jefferson's own words, the Declaration meant the free right to unbound exercise of reason and freedom of opinion. But Jefferson didn't differentiate reason from religion. Two could coexist. So when he says free, unbound exercise of reason, he means all things intellectual, including religion. Jefferson then references a creator in the Declaration, which endows us with rights, not some king. This is huge for the history of freedom of religion. We aren't getting our rights from some secular king or ruler or a positive law system where everyone agrees. We're getting it from divine providence, from a creator. In the year 1800, DeWitt Clinton wrote in defense or a vindication of Thomas Jefferson, which was designed to defend him against the Federalist attacks against his faith. He wrote and asked the question, if Mr. Jefferson had really wished our national character should be dishonored by atheism and irreligion, would he have inserted in the act which called us into being as a nation, a recognition of the Creator and ruler of the world? Next on his list is the Virginia Statute for Religious Freedom. In the wake of the Declaration of Independence, states began to work themselves free of state and church relationships. Jefferson was arguing as early as 1776 and then wrote the Virginia Statute for Religious Freedom in 1779. But at that time, the public still wasn't ready to separate church and state. However, Madison picked up that torch as Jefferson had to go to France as an ambassador, and eventually, through Madison's effort, the bill was passed in 1785. In the bill, the language Jefferson put in expresses equal natural rights. And at the end of that bill, he even says that if repealed, that it would be against the natural rights of man to worship as they saw fit. The last item on Jefferson's memorial list is the University of Virginia, often cited by scholars as a secular institution. But that's just not the case. And Jefferson's own words prove it. He wrote a letter explaining the institution and their religious properties. He said, "We suggest the expediency of encouraging the different sects to establish, each for itself, a professorship of their own tenets on the confines of the university, so near that students may attend lectures there and have free use of our library and every other accommodation we can give them." So clearly, he did not intend it to be a secular university, but more one of denominational non-preferentialism, so that everyone could worship freely as they saw fit and as their conscience allowed. So contrary to many modern scholars, Jefferson was not an atheist. He was very religious, and his legacy is one of religious liberty, even though he was a man of science and the Enlightenment. On his memorial, on the grounds of Monticello, are the very foundations of religious freedom that so define America today, and thusly should define Thomas Jefferson. Thank you for watching. I look forward to your videos.